Let me introduce myself first. I'm Pooja. I'm going to be a host for this session. Our theme for today's roundtable is connected retail. And to elaborate on the same, I'm going to be requesting Mr. Deepak Pargaonkar, Director, Sales Engineering, Salesforce. Joining him for the panel discussion are Mr. Ashok from Prakash Retail, Mr. Veneeth Purushothaman, CIO, Bharti Retail, Mr. Rajesh, Saboo, Head IT Future Group, Mr. Nimish Desai, Assistant Vice President and Business Head Godrej Infotech, and Mr. Rajiv Nair, CEO, Celio Future Fashion. Joining them would also be Mr. Kumar Rajagopalan, CEO, Retailers Association of India. Can we please welcome them with a round of applause? Over to you, sir.
Stand and then do a little bit of a talking over here. So thank you very much, and first of all, warm welcome to everyone. It gives a great pleasure. My name is Deepak and I'm part of Salesforce.com. It gives a great pleasure to welcome all the eminent panelists and also the audience to this roundtable. The way we are going to have a conversation is in first 5 to 7 minutes, I will talk a little bit about our observations in terms of what we have observed into the retail world, how the consumer expectations are changing, and what retailers are doing. And then I know it is interesting, or it's important that we hear the panelists because they are the experts and they will be telling about their view, and that's an important part of the session. So over to you. Next slide. Okay. Yeah. So what we have seen is that irrespective of the format of the retailing, the objective of every retail organization remains the same, which is connecting your brand with the consumers. And it might be any format. You might be the high-end luxury retail, it might be the grocery, it might be even the online, or it might be any kind of other format. Next slide. Yeah. What we have seen is that while the objective remains the same, there are certain shifts which are happening in the industry. And what are those shifts? A lot of those shifts we are also experiencing. We are experiencing and expecting personalization everywhere. Why? Because there are some people who have changed our habits. There are some apps which are making things easy for us. Shopping is being made easy, connecting with people is being made easy. A lot of things are being made easy. There are apps like, say, Kohler, there are apps like Uber, a lot of things we are experiencing, and our expectations are increasing. We want more personalization. Today morning itself, we heard from the eminent panelists about the importance of employees. Employees are very, very important because they are the ones who give that experience to the shopper when the shopper is inside the store. He's the one who has that knowledge and who talks to the customer and consumer about his requirements. The organizations obviously need the ability to be innovating fast. Now, we can always not remain ahead of the curve in the innovation. Sometimes someone disrupts. And we need to be capable to respond to that disruption and that innovation. These are some of the observations which make it imperative for retailers to connect with a shopper in a whole new way. And that's where we talk about connected retail. Because we want to connect the whole ecosystem. We want to understand what the consumer's expectations are. We want to understand what is employee importance and what would they need. Next slide, please. Uday. Move ahead. This already I have spoken. In our observation, what we have seen, and then obviously we will be requesting the panelists after this to talk about their views. Most of the retail organizations today have invested in the system of records, which is system of transactions. Every organization does need point of sale. They need the ability to manage their inventory. They obviously need the ability to manage their merchandising and their transactions. And all of this needs huge infrastructure. Most of the retailers have already, in our view, kind of enabled these things. They have the point of sale solutions. They have the ability to manage all their transactions. However, what we have seen globally, based on our experience of Salesforce with several customers, people are now looking for something which is in line with consumers' demand, which is system of engagement. Next slide. So this is in today's world, which is dominated by cloud, mobile, social, people have the community behavior now. They collaborate a lot. I have seen that person like me, rather than behaving organization, putting crores of rupees in the advertising, can believe in a friend who might not be having 100% idea and make a purchasing decision. So this world, which is dominated by social, mobile, and literally the data explosion, there is where what we feel the organizations are now required to invest in the capability of system of engagement. Next slide. And what that system of engagement is, so this could be the system of engagement, where the ability is available for the in-store employees to give a great experience to the shoppers by enabling personalized in-store shopping, by enabling them with the mobile devices, giving customer apps, building communities, providing state-of-the-art service. This is what we have seen customers across the world doing with consumers, employees, and other stakeholders by using platforms like Salesforce. I'm not trying to be elaborating on what the Salesforce solution does. So that's about what our observations are. Now, in overall, what we spoke about, the ecosystem, the changes which are happening in the industry, consumer behavior, and the need for organizations to respond with the system of records. I would like to invite the views from the experts and over to the panelists now to give their views. And Kumar, if you may want to start with your views and then we go across the experts, we can start the conversation.
Thanks. I think when this was getting structured, we were thinking which would be the best way of engaging with everybody around here. Okay. The idea is that there are some things that's happening globally. There are some things that's happening in India. And it's not necessary that both of them have to be the same. Some of them are different. Some of them can be similar. Not the same, but similar for sure. So that was the one thought process. The other thought process was that individuals who are sitting here, and specifically the experts here, could possibly contribute by telling what is it that they are seeing and what are they doing in their own businesses to do things differently. So rather than trying to be a consultant, I think we're trying to see what are you really going through? What are you doing? Whatever can be revealed, please reveal. If you can't reveal it, then I think that's the way it is. We will not know whether you've not revealed anyway. so that's the other part. The third is that at the end of this, we'll need to see if there is an Indian method of engaging with consumers that's coming up. Okay, that could be in various forms. Some of the solutions, obviously, it's Salesforce who's kind of brought this whole thing together. And the hope is that Salesforce would go back with some things which will give them the force to sell in the market. But more than that, I think it's for all of us to take back something from here, which we can use in whichever businesses that each one of us are in. Thankfully, now I'm not in retail directly, so it's easier for me to talk because I become a consultant here. So if I was a retailer, I think I'll be really scared. So I don't know whether I'm resonating with the guys here. You're not looking so scared after all. So that's where we are. I think it's an open discussion. That's why we'll need to just say what are we seeing with clients, services, marketing, apps, analytics connected. But the one thing that I can see for sure from my side at an individual level is that the fight is for share of watch of consumers. Customers have got far too many choices, and they are anyway going, like most people say, from screen to screen, from morning till evening. And most of the time, they are only willing to invest their time if they know that they are going to get something which is spectacular, which will give them a solution then and there, if they are searching for something. If it's not something that they're getting immediately, they push off. Sometimes if the thing is available for them, but if it's not being told to them right way, again they push off because you know what, they don't have the time of the day to come and listen to somebody's blah. Like most of you may want to run away from here. So that's the way we are. So we are working in a world which is very, very limited on time, and people have got lots to do. So with that thought, I think the others may want to bring in their thoughts and views.
So let me take it from there. You started off with the connected retail as the essence, right? So that's where we are all. We've heard all through the various sessions. We've been listening to all of that. So you can't. That's the common essence. That's the fact of life. Similarly, an extension to the connected retail is the whole omni-channel retailing, which is obviously that's how it is. That's how we're connecting various channels together. And then comes the other acronym that we all IT guys use, which is the SMAC, which is social media, analytics, cloud, and mobile. So, which is again, all of those becomes mediums and devices to make you omni-channel. The interesting bit which I saw from you, the way you started off, is that most of us, even though we are Indian retailers have always got the edge when it came to technology, because we came perhaps a little late into this and the technology had matured. Even then, we have invested a lot on what now sounds legacy because of the way the technology has matured and it's all gone to the cloud. So for most of us, even if we wish to step out into this space and connect in the omni-channel way, it is not easy. Therefore, so CIOs or people who drive technology within the retail organizations would look forward to connectors and plugins like that you mentioned, which allows me to extend my system, which is at the behind, to reach out to those multiple channels, whether it is B2B, B2C, whichever be the case. So that should be what everybody look forward to from people like you and Salesforce or whoever comes with it, is to create that kind of an ecosystem or environment where all the retailer need to do is plug in and then expose it to the rest of the channels. Right, so that is one bit which I leave on the table here. The other bit is, yes, there's a lot of Indianness about a lot of things that we do here. So I don't think anybody does. I would say a lot of us doing commerce even on a WhatsApp. So there are a lot of things that happen in WhatsApp in India. I mean, almost everybody has got a family group, has got an office group, and like we have from the X companies that we work for. So all kinds of groups, right? So, and like somebody asked, it is sometimes used for social networking, sometimes used for selling, sometimes used for supporting a friend of yours, and so on. So there is definitely an Indian way of working in this space, so which I'm sure it will always be more helpful and it will be useful. I'll leave it at that. We can come back once I.
I can just add a little bit more, to what Veneeth said. We also, while we have been working on trying to prepare our backend systems to be able to go fully connected and let the customer see it, one of the biggest challenges, at least from the hypermarket point of businesses, is the amount of information that we want to make it visible to the customer also. It's not a small level of information. So when we are trying to say that, if I'm just looking in terms of the number of SKUs to be shared with them, or the number of promotions that I want to share with them, they are huge, and it's not possible to expose also everything to them in the same way, because even finally the platform that they're going to talking about, so we have to still screen a lot more. Apart from that, again, then bases the strategy on how do you want to, what offerings do you want to give it to them. So for example, I may be selling a particular variant of a particular SKU, and I may be having 3 or 4 variants. So I've got a 10-gram option versus a 25-gram option versus a 50-gram option. Then again, from a company, your strategy point of view, saying how do you want to actually make your basket offering for the customers. So again, another filter comes in place, say, okay, boss, these things will not be exposed to the customers, and you have to remove that. So it's not as easy as even just taking my whole bunch of SKUs in promotion and exposing it to the customers directly. It has to be filtered, and then finally we are able to take from our legacy systems to where we can be. So just my bit to add to where we left it here.
Okay, sorry. I bring in a perspective of a very different kind of retail from the 3 gentlemen here. They look after big box hypermarket businesses, which I used to be part of once upon a time. But today I look after a menswear brand. It's called Celio. It's a French multinational brand, and it's a joint venture in India with the Future Group. When I look at all of this, in fact, as a business, we started, one of the biggest challenges that we see of brands which come from a different part of the world. Some of the brands are legacy brands, so obviously have got huge visibility, huge awareness for consumers. For example, when Zara comes into India, Uniqlo comes, Economic Times does half the job. The rest of the job is done by Zara and Uniqlo. But we come from a country like France, where obviously, even if we are the #1 brand in France, in India nobody knows us. So I think the biggest opportunity that we saw about 2 or 3 years ago was the fact that one is either we first build the business and then invest on marketing, or first invest on marketing and then build the business. In both ways, it was a little difficult. So we said the fact that we have to build brand, but there has to be a stepladder method to reach out to this huge mass of Indian consumer. And you have to use very clever I would say, of, you have to rethink the way brands are going to be built in future. Okay, because there was a time when almost for 20 years brands were built around print media in India. Of course, people who could afford it went into TVCs and built brands. But today I see a fantastic opportunity in the form of the devices that each one of the individuals carry in their hands. Everybody in this room has one, everybody is looking at it and stuff like that put together. So I think the big opportunity that brands like us is to see is that if we have to leapfrog our visibility to consumer, technology is a big, big, big enabler. A small examples that we could say is the fact that we did some targeted posts on Facebook recently. I can't believe the numbers. We have done about an investment of about 15 lakhs of rupees across 3 months. And we reached out to almost 1 crore consumers across the market on social media. And I can't say that impression is enough. Maybe I have to do 15 times, 20 times, 30 times that impression every year. But even if I see the incremental spend that I'm going to do on targeted posts, it's still way lower than what I would be spending on traditional media like maybe print media or maybe TVCs. So I think one aspect that we see is an absolute opportunity to reach out to the last person in India, if possible, through maybe his device. Second is the fact that there's a huge growing e-commerce space, and in fact we find that extremely exciting. Because for us to do the traditional method of growing businesses by investing millions of dollars towards setting up stores all around the country. For example, if brands like Gap have say 3,000 stores in America or 4,000 stores in America, I probably need maybe much more than that in India theoretically to reach out to so many customers. And I know practically I cannot do it. Because one is there is no availability of retail real estate available. There is not enough capital that I have which I can put into. Even if I go the franchise model, the biggest of brands are doing about say 400 to 500 stores in the country today. So it's not possible to reach. So now e-commerce becomes a fantastic media to reach out to the last pin code in the country for the brand. So we started investing quite aggressively over the last 3 or 4 months time towards all our partners in e-commerce to get our brand visible in their pages, because those pages have millions and millions of hits, right? So that while I can do the same thing through print, I can actually go in and work on e-commerce partners to be a visibility point for me to reach out to consumers. That's second. And third, of course, we have been doing it in our previous businesses also. I think analytics around and insights around consumers through gathering of database of consumers and then starting to target market products to the consumer, offers to consumers, experiential events to consumers. This is something that we're doing. Give you an example, we started off a mobile-based loyalty program about 2 years ago. It's called the Celio Fantastic Loyalty Program, and people who are part of the program would realize that we are able to communicate almost virtually on a weekly basis to consumer. I don't want to say daily because sometimes it can be too intrusive, but on a weekly basis to the consumer. The results are fantastic because, I know my previous organization, Shoppers Today, talks about 72% of the consumer sales coming from loyalty consumers. In a space of 1.5 years, using more digital assets, we've been able to reach out to about a 35% repeat in our business coming from this base of 200,000 customers. Today, almost 85% of the customers who walk into our store actually get enrolled, and 35% of the sale that actually comes from repeat customers. Now, I'm just saying the power has come because in the past I would have to send letters and mailers and reach to the last pin code using white mail. Today, through email, I reach out to a lot of people. Of course, there is an application orientation also that we have brought in where all points, everything is on an application base. But obviously, the struggle that we face is the fact that the technology is changing so fast that it's not very easy to keep up sometimes with those changes of platforms and OSs and stuff like that. So we also have our own set of struggles as well. So these are the areas that I think we are in some form trying to build engagement with customers and trying to maybe build a better brand in the country. So
I have a couple of questions which I would like to understand more about. So when you spoke about the mobile-based loyalty program, now one of the things that comes to my mind is very recently we deliver Salesforce platform-based mobile loyalty program for one of the retailers, Myers in Australia. Now, how different and how valuable would this mobile-based loyalty program be as against the standard loyalty program? Because you specifically spoke about that mobile-based. So what are your views and what is the panel view on that?
Unless somebody else wants to really pitch in, I'll quickly make my point. Is the fact that one is very simply, I think having physical loyalty cards is suboptimal in the future world. You know, I mean, everybody carries, I can't even sit properly right now because my wallet has far too many cards sitting out there, okay, and you can't imagine with more retailers coming in, maybe I'll have to sit a couple of feet higher. So I think the physical card is gone. I think everybody is trying to move away from the physical card to actually saying the fact that the device with the information built in through the application does all the job of a loyalty program. Now, some people are offering solutions where you can accumulate multiple or an aggregator of cards, or there is an aggregator of loyalty programs, or maybe something like a payback and stuff like that. Or you can run your own customized loyalty program. But I wouldn't say it's just that the app or the digital element is important, but what value can you bring through that technology to the consumer? Give you a small snippet example is, we have bloggers working with us today who we actually fund